Hi, we are now in the second phase of version 2.1 and Genshin had a little crossover with Honkai style. Jokes aside, Aventurine is finally out and he is already looking like quite the powerhouse. Aventurine is our first true hybrid character featuring a kit full of features that add more to your team than just sustaining. But does just having an overloaded kit make you good? Well, let's take a look at Aventurine's pros and cons and update the tier list. For this video, I'll be using this tier list I have made, but let me know in the comments if I should separate this into two tier lists, one for MLC and one for pure fiction, as some characters only perform well in one and not the other, like Herta. Before we start, I'll be giving away a supply pass / welcome in / crystal card to my subscribers at 4K subs, so make sure you subscribe to enter. But for those who can't wait for the giveaway, let me introduce you to Lootbar GG, where you can recharge your Oneiric shards and supply passes for up to 20% off. If you're gonna be topping up anyways, there's no reason not to use Lootbar to get everything for cheaper. Normally, I will not trust these type of services, so to test it out myself, I've topped out 3,880 Oneiric shards, but as you can see, it is $9 cheaper compared to in-game, and the order came in less than 15 minutes. It's all safe and secure as it only requires your UID and region. New users can also get an additional discount, so what are you waiting for? Go check it out now, link in the description. This tier list will be rated on 3 categories: power level, comfort, and meta. Power level is simply the power in their role, so in this case sustaining. Comfort is essentially how easy they are to build and play, and meta is how good and often they will be used in the hardest content of the game. For those who don't know what Aventurine does, I have a guide, link in the description, but in a nutshell, he is a 5-star imaginary preservation unit that focuses on his shielding. His shield provides many bonuses like effect res, photo up attack, and his ultimate is a debuff too. If you can't already tell, he has a lot going for him despite being a unit that's supposed to only sustain. So let's start with his power level. For Aventurine's power level, we'll first mainly focus on his sustaining, then the rest. So how good are his shields? Well, thankfully, it is actually really insane. Just looking for the numbers alone, we can see that it's already only slightly behind Shards. And remember, basically Shards' whole kit is his shield, while his other benefits are not as good as Aventurine's. This already means Aventurine is a great shielder, but then if you take a look at how we get his shields, he just straight up power crept Shard. Aventurine can give shields to his major traits, skill, and photo up attack. The two most important part is that it can stack, and manually shielding is on his skill and not his ultimate. These two things combine to make Aventurine one of the best sustains in this game, as A, it's not locked behind an ultimate so we don't have to worry about wasting or gaining energy, and B, since it stacks and the rate of gaining shields is much faster than Shard, it means that his shields can actually be bigger than Shard a lot of the time. So we can basically all agree that he's one of the best sustains already, but we have yet to mention the other parts of his kit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that his photo up attack and ultimate does a bazillion damage, cause it doesn't, but if you have his signature Lycorn or maybe some good relic luck, he does do a respectable amount of damage and will definitely increase your team's total DPS just enough for it to be noticeable. And that's just his damage. What he also has is a great debuff on his ultimate that makes the enemy take more crit damage. But however, with all that said, these parts of his kit are a bit held back as his damage basically requires his signature Lycorn and his ultimate debuff is single target. But that's fine since remember, at the end of the day, he's still a sustain unit. All these extra stuff are just extra stuff. They don't have to be top tier. So Aventurine gets a 10 out of 10 for power level. He's the best shielder in the game and one of the best sustains while also bringing many more benefits. Now onto his comfort. This unfortunately is where he loses a few points. So to start, how easy it is to build him. Well, as I said before, Aventurine's signature Lycorn is a huge buff to both his damage and sustaining capabilities. It increases defense, gives him crit damage, and a damage percentage debuff. So while he does have great free-to-play options like the Shard Lycorn, his signature will bring much more out of him. But fortunately, when it comes to his relics and planar ornaments, I can thankfully say he has great options and is totally okay with not having any future better sets on him. His best in slot is a 4-piece Knight of Purity or a 4-piece Pioneer Diver. Knight probably being the most common one, as 4-piece Pioneer is really only good if you have his signature Lycorn. But nevertheless, that just shows how good he has it for relic sets, since he even has options for what is best in slot for free to play or non-free to play. And for planar ornaments, Inner Sacerdo is perfect as he gets crit rate in his kit so he can achieve the set bonus easily, but the rest of the support planar ornaments will work great on him too, like Broken Kneel, which increases crit damage to everyone, which he also likes. But with all that being said, there's still two things I want to mention that does hold Aventurine back a bit when it comes to building him. First is his major traits leverage, which really wants you to reach 4000 defense. Now, if you use defense main stat on body, boots, balls, and rope, then it's pretty easy. However, that's only if you don't really care that much about him and not really looking to bring the max potential out of him. But for those looking to go crit damage body and speed boots, for example if you want some extra damage as well, reaching that 4k defense will look a bit hard if you don't have the best of luck. And the second problem is his other major traits, Hot Hand. This is really only a problem if you run him in a follow-up attack team, which is where he generally performs the best at. The problem is that he requires some pretty high speed to keep the uptime on this trait. For example, in teams with constant follow-up attacks like Ratio, Topaz, and himself, it can very easily use up all the counts of this trait for his talent gains, causing great damage and actually sustaining losses too, as he does gain a shield whenever he follow-up attacks. And it all links back to the first problem, where you want 4k defense. Without ruining your crit damage body, or your imaginary balls, or your energy rope, running speed boots on him and getting 4k defense might be a bit of a challenge. But fortunately, ultimately, he can be ran in any team without disrupting any other teammates, except maybe only Blade. And the only content where he suffers a bit is where enemies take away your HP, ignoring your shield. So all in all, when he does have his drawbacks when it comes to perfecting him, generally, he's a reasonable character to build, so a 7 out of 10. And last but not least, meta. If you couldn't already tell, he's no doubt gonna be one of the most used units in actually all game modes. For MLC, he is a great asset as his shields is more than good enough to solo sustain, and his debuff and personal damage will help a good amount for faster clears. For pure friction, despite his ultimate debuff being single target, his follow up is basically AoE, and usually there's only one big boss that his ultimate debuff can stay on. And for SU expansions, Preservation Path is absolutely bonkers on him, maybe actually even better than Japard, but Aventurine's secondary blessing is Elation, and Japard's secondary blessings is Remembrance, so I think they can both fully coexist. That's great, he's useful in all content, but will he continue to be used in the future? Yep, 100%. Sustain units are usually pretty future-proof. In fact, Lotra is actually still more than good enough for all contents, so if you do have him already, the value of pulling for Aventurine does drop a little. But nevertheless, the other benefits he brings to the table will make him truly a staple in a sustaining role in the present and in the future. But what's more than that is, he is a follow-up attack unit and likes follow-up attack teammates. This opens many more opportunities for teammate upgrades in the future and relic upgrades in the future too. This all makes him quite the meta character and quite the future-proof character too, with his only downside is that he's competing in a role where other units are also future-proof, so 9 out of 10. So yeah, that does it. Nothing else really needs to be said, he will go up into SS tier, no questions asked. And that makes version 2.1 one of the most stacked updates we have gotten so far. Aventurine is an absolutely insane unit that brings a lot to your team and goes beyond than what a preservation unit is quote-unquote supposed to do.